The luxurious marble floors of the Grand Villaggio Hotel gleamed under the golden chandeliers. Crystal glasses clinked, hushed conversations filled the grand lobby, and the scent of expensive perfume and freshly brewed espresso lingered in the air. It was an evening of pure elegance, where wealthy guests enjoyed their stay without a care in the world. But one woman's voice cut through the refined atmosphere like a blade. Before we dive deeper into this gripping and emotional story, let us know where you're watching from today. And if tales of courage, action, and standing up for what's right inspire you, don't forget to subscribe to Story Dash. Soon, we'll share another story that will leave you speechless. At the center of the lobby, near the VIP concierge desk, a beautiful woman with flowing dark brown hair and piercing green eyes stood in 4-inch designer heels, her posture rigid with irritation. She held a gold-plated room keycard between two manicured fingers and waved it in frustration at the hotel receptionist, her voice rising in anger. "This is absolutely ridiculous," she snapped. "I specifically requested a top-floor suite with an ocean view, not a room with some pathetic courtyard balcony." The young receptionist, barely able to mask her anxiety, scrambled to check the computer. I'm so sorry, ma'am, but that room was unexpectedly booked by another guest before you arrived. I don't care what you can do," the woman interrupted. "I pay good money to stay here. Fix it." At that moment, a calm yet commanding voice entered the conversation. "You know, there are far worse things in life than a bad hotel view," the voice said casually. The woman turned sharply, ready to snap back, until she saw him. Her eyes widened slightly, but she caught herself before her expression gave anything away. She knew exactly who he was. Jason Statham. The famous action star was standing just a few feet away, dressed in a black t-shirt and tailored gray blazer, his expression unreadable, but amused. She had watched his movies. She knew his reputation, and yet she refused to let her surprise show. "And who exactly asked for your opinion?" she shot back, arms crossed, keeping her tone indifferent. Jason smirked slightly. "No one," he admitted. "But I couldn't help but notice that you're throwing a tantrum over a hotel room while the poor girl behind the desk looks like she's about to pass out." The woman's jaw clenched. She was used to men groveling at her feet, not calling her out. "And you are?" Jason raised an eyebrow, catching the hint of recognition in her eyes. "Oh, I think you already know." Her lips pressed into a tight line. She did, but she wasn't about to give him the satisfaction of saying it. "Right," she scoffed. "Some washed-up action star trying to be a hero?" Jason chuckled, shaking his head. "Not trying," he said smoothly. "Just comes naturally." The tension between them was palpable. The receptionist swallowed hard, frozen in place as she watched the exchange unfold. But before anything else could be said, a loud explosion suddenly rocked the hotel. A deep boom shook the building, and a massive fireball erupted from the upper floors, sending shockwaves through the structure. Screams filled the air as chandeliers trembled, and guests scattered in panic. The receptionist ducked behind the desk, while Jason's sharp instincts kicked in instantly. "Get down!" he barked. Smoke began to flood the lobby, alarms blaring. Jason's eyes scanned the chaos, staff members rushing, guests scrambling, and debris falling from the ceiling. But his attention snapped back to her. The woman, the same one who had insulted him minutes ago, stood frozen in place, her emerald eyes wide with absolute terror. A large burning beam overhead was about to collapse, right where she was standing. "Move!" Jason shouted. But she didn't. Her body was paralyzed with fear. Without a second thought, Jason lunged forward. In one swift motion, he wrapped his arm around her waist and yanked her out of the way, just as the flaming beam crashed onto the marble floor, exactly where she had been standing seconds earlier. The impact sent a shockwave through the room, knocking people off their feet. Jason and the woman landed hard on the ground, rolling before he shielded her with his body as glass and debris rained down. The moment passed in eerie silence. When the dust settled, she looked up at him, her face inches from his, breath shaky, chest rising and falling in rapid panic. You saved me," she gasped. Jason gave her a quick once-over, making sure she wasn't hurt. "Yeah, well, can't have you dying before you apologize, can we?" She let out a breathless, nervous laugh, part disbelief, part gratitude. Jason pushed himself up and helped her to her feet. The smoke was getting thicker, and the fire was spreading fast. "We have to move," Jason said, his voice firm. He grabbed her hand, and this time she didn't resist. Jason navigated through the flames, guiding her with calculated precision. He knocked down debris, kicked open blocked doors, and led them through the hallways while keeping her close to his side. At one point, a wall of fire erupted ahead, forcing them to backtrack. The woman coughed as smoke filled her lungs, her legs wobbling from exhaustion. Jason stopped and knelt beside her. "You good?" She nodded weakly, barely able to keep up. Jason sighed. "All right, hold on." Before she could protest, he scooped her up effortlessly into his arms and charged forward through a safer path. After what felt like an eternity, Jason kicked open an emergency exit, carrying her outside just as firefighters arrived. The cool night air hit their faces, and she collapsed into a coughing fit. Paramedics rushed over, but she clutched Jason's arm, eyes filled with raw emotion. I knew who you were," she admitted, her voice softer now. Jason raised an eyebrow. "Yeah?" She swallowed, then hesitated before whispering, "Thank you." Jason gave her a small nod. "Next time, maybe don't bite the head off a hotel employee over a view." She actually laughed. And just like that, Jason walked off, disappearing into the night. The woman sat there watching him go, knowing that she would never forget the day Jason Statham saved her life. As she sat there, catching her breath, a firefighter approached her with a blanket. "Ma'am, are you okay?" he asked. She nodded absently, still processing everything that had happened. Then, almost as if she hadn't realized it until that moment, she looked down at her trembling hands, still clutching the room key she had complained about just minutes before. The irony hit her like a wave. She had been so focused on a meaningless luxury that she had nearly lost her life, while a stranger, one she had disrespected, had risked his own to save her. She glanced back toward the street where Jason had disappeared. There were many things she could say, many apologies she could offer, but somehow she knew he didn't need to hear them. He already knew. Would you have done what Jason did? Let us know in the comments. And if you love this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Story Dash for more action-packed, unforgettable tales. Because sometimes, the hero you don't expect is the one who saves you in the end.